Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Monday Night Raw is in full swing, and we have to talk about everything that went down on this week's edition. Lots of segments, all right? So get ready for that. Lots of segments, but to be fair, all right, lots of pretty good matches as well. It is, of course, the Raw before Saturday's main event, so we were pushing storylines, we were finalizing cards, and we were having altercations with everybody. And let's also not forget, we had to have at least 40 people declare for the Rumble this week. Just like always, it's going crazy at this point. Everybody's going to enter this thing. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw my mom enter this thing at this point. That's how many times they've mentioned this Rumble. But overall, was it any good? Was it worth the watch? We're going to talk about everything that happened. So let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about the good. We're going to be talking about the bad. And the attempted murder of Rey Mysterio. Let's go. And now before we get into the actual events of the show, they started off by showing us what happened earlier that day, and it was Nia Jax attacking Rhea Ripley from behind. Now look, okay, all right, I'm gonna say it, all right. I am not a Nia Jax fan. I've tried to be a fan, and if you like her, totally cool. Not really a fan, and I'm also not really a fan of reusing feuds, especially when they weren't that good to begin with in the first place, right? So we're going ahead and we're going to do Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley again for the title. And whatever. But who knows? Maybe it'll be great. I'm going to give it a shot. We're all positive on this channel, right? I'm trying to be positive here, but I also have to be honest, not a fan of this storyline right now. Now, moving on to a match that I am excited for, and I don't care what anybody says, all right? Jey Uso is one of my favorites right now. The way he comes in to the arena, and every time that music hits, it's just freaking all over the place, dude. Literally, you cannot stay still. You cannot frown during a Jey Uso match, or you cannot frown during a Jey Uso entrance. It's literally impossible. You can't do it. Jey does indeed start cutting a promo, but he only gets about 3 yeets in before Gunther comes out and interrupts him. It's very, very quick, to say the least. Crowd is 100% booing Gunther and cheering Jey, so everything is going according to plan. It's so beautiful. We have our dominant heel champion who is just straight-faced and doesn't care about anybody. He just wants to wrestle. He could care less about the storylines. He could care less about relationships. He is just a wrestler. And then you have Jey Uso on the other side, who's just fun, and he's a little flamboyant, and he wears the yeet glasses, and everybody loves him, and he just wants to have a good time, but also wants to take care of business. So I love the dynamic of these two. I think it's a very, very fun little rivalry. And as far as promos go, not much happens here. You know, pretty standard. Good guy, bad guy. Gunther says that he's going to win. Jey says that he's going to win. It does end in Gunther attacking Jey after Jey says some shots at him. And then we have a little brawl. Jey comes out on top. Gunther leaves. That's pretty much it. Nothing to it, really. Very fun first segment, especially with Jey's entrance. I think that's the thing that makes it stand out the most. Overall, great first segment. Looking forward to this match as a whole. Sign me up. Take my blood. Do whatever you got to do. I just need to see this match. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If you are a segment lover, you are going to love this next thing because we transition from a segment right into a segment. Okay, so then we see the New Day pop up backstage to a roar of boos, which was so awesome to see because we've been hearing them cheered for so long now. It's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird, but I'm definitely here for it. And they, of course, are talking to none other than JBL, which is kind of random. We're going to run with it, though. It's all right. It's all good. We're going to make do with what we got here. So JBL is back there, and he's looking pretty annoyed at this whole interaction, even though Kofi gave him $2 whole, by the way, so I don't know what he has to be annoyed about. In this economy, $2, hey, I'm your best friend if you give me any kind of money after that. But that's pretty much it. JBL does not accept their pleads for, I guess, affection or whatever they were looking for, and they just leave angry. Okay, then we move on. Also, before we move on, a quick little shout out. Bayley also had an interview, and she's officially on Raw. which I don't know what that means. Does the Raw and SmackDown thing mean anything yet? I mean, because look, it hasn't meant anything for years now. I don't know who's on Raw. I don't know who's on SmackDown. I know we got the champions. I think they have immunity or something like that. Who knows at this point? But she announced that she's on Raw, and of course, guess what? She's entering the Royal Rumble. Shocker. And it looks like even the microphone doesn't want to work with Nia Jax because it was muted during half of her promo against Bayley. Yeah, you love to see that, don't you? And then we do indeed get our first match of the evening, and it is Rey Mysterio, one of the biggest baby faces in the world, versus the newly turned Kofi Kingston. And the New Day come out. And at first, they come out with their music, and everybody kind of is like, yay, we love this song. But then they tell them, no, shut up, turn the music off. We don't run like that no more. They come out in black attire, and they pretty much just rant their way to the ring once the music cuts off. And I thought that was a pretty funny thing. We get New Day sucks chants instead of New Day rocks. Thought that was a fun little switch up there. And then we have JBL on commentary, okay? And actually, Kofi did end up repoing the $2 he gave the JBL, which pretty rude of him. I mean, that's just a slap in the face, man. That's crazy. And then Rey and Kofi had a match, and it was a pretty standard heel versus face match. Nothing to it, really. Kofi does get control early on, and his plan is just to ground Rey Mysterio, which is obviously a great move if you're trying to get some boos, right? People want to see Rey fly all over the place. The heel does not want that to happen. He will make you cry. That's what he wants. And then eventually we went to the outside. Boy. Woo! Kofi. Okay. So Kofi was going for a powerbomb, picks up Rey Mysterio, and he slips out of his hand somehow. And I thought for sure Rey was dead. He literally slipped. And if he was taller, I think that would have probably been the end of Rey Mysterio. So I'm very happy he was okay after that. A very, very scary spot that has definitely made its way around the internet because that was pretty crazy. Kofi later on does go for the same move, and Rey reverses it into a Hurricane Rana into the steps and the pole, which was probably what they were supposed to do in the first place. So they ended up doing the correct spot, but still, wow. Throughout the match, you just have standard heel tactics. Kofi eventually wants to gain control, so he pokes Rey in the eye to a roar of boos. We have back and forth, back and forth. We have a Trouble in Paradise attempt that misses Rey. Rey sets up for the 619, but Woods gets involved and trips Rey Mysterio. But the referee caught it. Referee said, "I am not your typical referee. I see what's going on," and he told Woods to go away instead of disqualifying Kofi, which I don't know. Rules are bendable in wrestling, so it's fine. But that does cause Rey to get distracted. Kofi attacks Rey, but Rey counters and does hit the 619. He goes for the big leap. Kofi blocks it with his knees, and he gets a very, very near fall. Yeah. And then we get to the finish of the match. Kofi going for the SOS, but Rey does turn it into a surprise roll-up and pins and gets the win over the newly turned Kofi. So I guess his heel turn isn't working for him, brother. Woods comes back from the back and attacks Rey Mysterio. LWO gets involved. We have typical heel face shenanigans. And then eventually it gets broken up, and that's it. All right, so their first match as heels, thought it was pretty decent. Overall, thinking back to it, nothing really special about this match. I don't know what they're going to do with this whole... I feel like maybe you should have gave Kofi the win here. But I also get why they didn't. So, I mean, I don't know. Being a little picky... I don't know where they go from here. Overall, it was a pretty good match, though. And we got to relive Penta's debut, and I didn't get to talk about it last week, but literally, I'll say it right now, the best debut I've ever seen in my whole life. Been alive for 25 years, and I have not seen anything better than that. That was just phenomenal, and I was just happy to see that again. We then transitioned to Chad getting interviewed, and he admits that he has a major luchador problem. And he's going to go to the one man he knows that can help him out. And that is, my mic fell, and that is Dominic Mysterio, the man with the mustache who knows how to handle those luchadors like his bum dad. Guess what, guys? We've got another segment. So again, this is the fourth time that they've had somebody talking. This time it is Sami Zayn who goes and, of course, declares for, you guessed it, the Royal Rumble. So nothing really special there. I kind of wish they would go back to the wrestlers. You remember this when they went to the wrestlers in the back and they would like draw from the little thing and then they have a number? Let's just do that, because then you can get a lot more people out of the way and declaring for the Rumble when you have like smaller interactions. I think we should do that. Who's with me, dude? I really liked it when they did that stuff. Anyway, Sami Zayn's cutting a promo about he's never won the big one and he's never done this and he's never done that. KO comes out and interrupts him, and everybody's like, oh snap, what's he gonna say? And he says some things. KO pretty much just comes out to ask for Sami's help and kind of hints at like, hey, you know what, like if I win the title and let's say you win the Rumble, then we could headline WrestleMania for the championship. And I'm like, yes, actually, that would be really awesome to see. Is it going to happen? Probably not. Probably not going to happen. But it's a nice little idea. And, you know, KO is like, hey, since we're friends, I got your back, you got my back. But if you know Kevin Owens' history, you know that when he calls you his best friend, that's basically a death sentence, my friend. Interviews kept on coming because Sheamus says, I need a turn on the mic, and he cuts a promo about winning the IC title for the first time. And he says that he's been told that he has the greatest career in wrestling backwards. Very funny, and I kind of agree with that. He's going to fight Braun Breaker. They end up having a little exchange. You know WWE, I don't got to tell you what happens. A little shove here, a little shove there, a little laugh there. We moved on. Moved on to our second match. Can you believe it's only our second match of the evening? It is Bayley versus Nia Jax. I told you we'd get back here, and we sure did see Nia in the ring. Beginning of this match, we had Bayley start and take control. It was pretty fast-paced, but they eventually go to the outside. Bayley takes the fight outside with a dive. And immediately starts mouthing off at Roxanne Perez for some reason, even though she's just sitting in the ringside minding her own business. She immediately goes for her. She strikes Perez in the face, which causes Roxanne to get all upset. She like tries to jump the barrier, but you know, gets swept away by security. It's like a whole thing. Yeah. And then we go back into the ring. Nia Jax takes control and goes for a leg drop. Bayley rolls out of the way, but guess what? Nia still manages to hit her in the face with her foot because she's so good in the ring. Bayley delivers a sunset flip later on to Nia Jax, if you want to call it that, and sends her into the ring post. We're moving right along. Towards the end of the match, we get Bayley giving Nia an Annihilator twice, but cannot quite get the win. We get a couple of reversals, couple of finish attempts. You get the idea until we get to the final sequence, which is Nia delivering a pop-up Samoan drop, followed by like a senton, and the Annihilator to just pin Bayley. Blech. Okay, so before I talk about that, right after the match, Rhea Ripley, of course, comes out, gets a pop, and she attacks Nia Jax. The security team has to come separate them. Typical WWE spot before the main event. And now that I'm actually talking about it, I'm starting to realize how much they did this on Raw, and I'm starting to be like, okay, let's get something new in here, guys. We've been doing this for 400 years. We should think it's something new at this point. The brawl does end up with Rhea officially challenging Nia Jax for the title, which I always think is so weird because how do you get a title shot by just attacking the champion? Like, if that's the case, if I'm not the champion, I'm just going to go and attack every single champion until one of them gives me a title shot. Here's what I think. The Bayley disrespect is just crazy. It just goes on and on and on. And I really like Bayley, and so I hate seeing her lose every single week. And on top of that, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Nia Jax. I'm not really a fan of her in the ring. I get very nervous when she's in the ring, and, you know, because of her reputation. Of course, she's gotten better, right? And so I give shout out to that. But it doesn't shake the fact that I still would actually rather see Bayley versus Rhea Ripley for the title or something like that. I think that would be a way better direction to go. But what do I know? I'm just some guy talking in his apartment about wrestling, the sport that he loves. I could be way off base, but let me know what you think in the comments about this and if you like this match or not. Me personally, not really. And then we cut to my boy Chad Gable in the back, and this man does not miss. He does not disappoint. He literally is the son of Kurt Angle. I don't know why we didn't do that, but nonetheless, he is back there, and he's talking about how he has a luchador problem with the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio. Dom is like, hey, I got you. He slips him like a little piece of paper, and it's like, go to this guy, and he'll help you out. Who's the guy? I have no idea. But then Chad's leaving, and he leaves us with this beautiful quote saying he's going to go and learn the dark arts of Lucha Libre. We moved on. It was MLK Day. So, hey, we had to shout him out. Had a nice, beautiful video package, and it was very nice. Nothing more to say about it. Check it out. The one thing about WWE is that they always deliver on the media, always deliver on the video packages. You cannot say they don't. So this was no different. Just a shout out to Martin Luther King and to why we celebrate the day and the USA. Yeah. We moved on to our third match of the night, and ladies and gentlemen, it was Penta versus Pete Dunne. And what a match. What a second opponent. I mean, you talk about the match with Chad Gable, which was flawless. This match came in at a close second, ladies and gentlemen. It was that good. We get the amazing entrance with all that and the presentation and the beautiful just presentation. I just said that twice, but it's so good. I'm going to leave that in because you cannot express how dominant Penta looks in the WWE. It's pretty awesome. And the truth is, no matter what I say about this match, you just got to go and watch it. You just got to go and see it for yourself. I'm not even going to attempt to try and articulate the things that happened because it was breaking fingers here, it was breaking arms there, it was hard hitting here, it was hard hitting there was flips, there was jumps, there was the Mexican Destroyer, which is what they're calling it now, but I love seeing that move. There was a sling blade. It was just so good. I cannot even attempt to go back and tell you everything that happened. So please just go and watch it yourself. Watch it yourself after this video is over. But I will talk about the ending of this match. So Penta does it gets a little cocky and does that. Of course, Pete Dunne just grabs the fingers and starts to bend them and break them like he does. And he puts Penta into like a triangle submission hold, right? Little triangle choke. Penta just picks him up, slams him down to the mat, and is able to get out of that. Penta goes for the sacrifice, which is that arm breaker on Pete Dunne, but it is not done there. Because Penta says that's not enough. He picks him up and delivers the Penta driver. And that is enough for the 1, the 2, and the 3. You got your winner. Makes sense. Now we got to see him in a story. But I mean, good Lord, just the first 2 matches and you're just like, sign me up. Take my blood. I want to see this man every single week. I want to buy the mask. I want to buy the shirt. I want to do the thing. I am in love. In love. We had CM Punk enter through the crowd and cut a promo in the middle of the crowd. It was typical stuff. I'm going to get in the Royal Rumble. I'm going to win, blah, 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 blah. And there was one quote I will say before we move on that got a huge reaction, and it made me laugh so hard. And he said, if you put Hulk Hogan in the Rumble, I will throw his dusty ass out. And I thought that was so funny, and so did everybody else. You got to go check it out. CM Punk is just one of the best on the mic, point blank, period. No way to say it. As far as Rumble segments go, the CM Punk ones have been the ones that I'm like, yeah, we need these. Everything else, just a quick, I'm entering, maybe on Twitter or something, or whatever you call it now, and that's it, right? But CM Punk's so good on the mic. Could you imagine if Hulk Hogan entered the Royal Rumble, the reaction he would get? It would be absolutely crazy. This man would just get booed out of the arena and would get a huge pop if whoever eliminated him would immediately have to go to WrestleMania, and he would be the biggest baby face in the company after that. That would be absolutely crazy. And we moved on. We moved on to our 4th match right before the main event. We had Damage Control against Pure Fusion Collective, which sounds more like a garage band name than a wrestling stable's name. But whatever. And it makes me sad, but I was not really looking forward to this match. I didn't know it was happening. And I was kind of like, all right, this is kind of getting long. But to their credit, it was a pretty decent match. And there's one person we have to think about that. There was one genius of the sky named Io Sky who literally took this match, on her back and did 5 moonsaults with them on their back. She's so good at what she does. Underutilized is an understatement. Underappreciated is a fact. She has way more capability than WWE has even scratched the surface of using. So I hope to see some good stuff going forward, especially in this Triple H Paul Levesque era. Come on now, what are we talking about here? Let her break away, let her do her thing, let her fly. This was so good because of her and because of her alone. I'm gonna say that with my chest. That's literally why this match was good. No hate to the other participants too. I actually loved every single one of them. Dakota Kai, shout out, but they just kind of started a match that was pretty typical. It was Dakota and Shayna. Zoe Stark, though, did deliver. I mean, Zoe Stark, another person that I could say is also underutilized, has a lot of talent. Zoe Stark delivers a springboard missile drop kick and literally just takes off Dakota's head. It just goes flying because she delivered it with such force. Dakota just snapped back and pretty much died. It was crazy. The match really picked up when we got the hot tag to Io Sky. She came in and just started obliterating the entire team, going up and down and back and forth, hitting here, hitting there, doing a flip here, doing cartwheels and missile drop kicks. Whatever you can think of, she was doing it. Towards the end of the match, Shayna Baszler did get Io into the Kiribuna clutch. I hope I said that right. But Io evades in a creative way, just kind of diving out of the ring. Very flawless movement there. And after some push, punch, Io goes to the top and delivers a moonsault. I forget what it's specifically called, but it's basically a moonsault. It's our finishing move. Remind me what it is in the comments. And she gets the win. And I was really happy to see that. Like, literally, I cannot say this enough. Io Sky needs to be utilized more. She was the star of the match. She was the reason I got into the match. And she's delivered so many great moments already for WWE. Imagine what you would do. Imagine what she could do if they just let the leash go. Let her just cook. Let her do her thing. Let her fly. That's all I'm saying. She did get the win, though. So I was really happy to see that. Pretty good match. And then we moved on to our main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it was indeed Seth freaking Rollins versus Drew McIntyre in a WrestleMania rematch, but without the title. So, did it mean as much? Whatever. We're going to ignore that. It was a WrestleMania rematch, and it was really, really great. They took their time in the start. I love that. They soaked in the crowd because nobody else did that, right? And that's good, right? You need to save that for the big matches. So this felt like a big match. They traded hard chops. They played Ring Around the Rosie in the ring. And then Drew gained control with a shoulder tackle. They were really selling Drew's strength against Seth because he's just a big dude against Seth Rollins and against a lot of people. And so they were really making that known that Seth was just a smaller guy than Drew McIntyre. And he was pretty much having his way with Seth in the beginning of this match. Later in the match, Drew goes for an Alabama slam. Seth lands right on his head, but turns it into a roll-up and somehow doesn't get concussed. That was a pretty crazy spot. And only gets 2 for it as well. Again, I'm going to stop and say that this is another match. As far as like the matches you need to see on Raw, I'd say the Penta versus Pete Dunne, and then this one right here, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. I cannot express the brutality enough. Like, there was just so much just aggression and intensity in this match. You just got to go back and watch it. It's beautiful. Going to the finish now, Drew McIntyre does hit the Future Shock DDT after a very brief and weird distraction from the referee, which honestly I don't even know why anybody would get distracted by what happened, but only gets a 2 count. Rollins ends up getting a surprise roll-up, can you believe it or not, to get the win over Drew, who was immediately upset, and rightfully so, because nothing is going according to plan for him. Drew immediately attacks, and I immediately attack Seth Rollins, who is defenseless. Sami Zayn comes out to help Seth. Of course, Drew delivers a Glasgow kiss to Sami, and then goes after Rollins again. Towards the end, Sami tries to again help Rollins, delivers a haluva kick, trying to hit Drew, but hits, oh my God, Seth Rollins in the face. And it was just, crazy. My question is, where do we go from here, right? Because Drew McIntyre is indeed supposed to be going on this huge rampage, going through the Bloodline members, but he's lost twice now. So what does that mean? What's going to happen? Is he going to lose his confidence? Are we going to see yet another I've lost my confidence, I need to get back to the top story? Hey, look, I'm not hating it. I'm just saying we've kind of seen that a lot recently. I was kind of hoping that Drew would just start tearing through everybody until he hit like a bigger hurdle. But hey, it is what it is, right? So Drew did not get the win. Again, I think in general, Drew and Seth are probably the two most selfless wrestlers in the business right now. I think they definitely seem like they lose more than they win. I don't know how the stats to back that up, but at least in the big matches, I've seen them both on their backs more times than I've seen them raise their hands. So hopefully they can both get some momentum and start getting a run at the titles again. I'd love to see Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins wearing a belt in the next couple of years here. Brings us to the end of Raw. Overall, how do I think it went? I honestly think it was very, very good. I think it was actually a really great Raw. We had solid matches. We had a million segments, which is the only thing that, thinking back, especially now, that I've just always not been a fan of about Raw, but we did indeed have them, and they were entertaining enough, so I didn't really hate them when I was watching them. But talking about them, my goodness, really put into perspective how many segments we have on this damn show. But overall, very solid. Now let's go to the favorites and least favorites. My favorite match was Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, a match you've got to see. Honorable mention, of course, the Penta versus, I was about to say Gable, the Penta versus Pete Dunne match. Just amazing. My least favorite match, as no surprise, I'm sure, is Nia Jax versus Bayley. Not a big Nia fan, as I've said a million times already. I'm never going to say it again. And that's a lie. And, yeah, not really a good match. You could skip over that and not really be affected at all. My favorite segment was literally everything with Chad Gable. I think he's just one of the funniest in the business right now. Keep up doing what he's doing. How was he not the son of Kurt Angle? I'll never get over it. But anyway, we're going to move on. And then my least favorite segment was probably all of the Rumble declarations. I'm just going to go ahead and put every single one of them in a giant pot and put that as my least favorite thing that's going on right now. It can be fun. The CM Punk ones are fun. But there's so many of them. Like, I get it. This thing has been going on for 500 years. I know how this works. So I could live without that, honestly. But anyway, other than that, I thought it was a really, really great show. And I'm looking forward to Saturday's main event. I'm looking forward to next week's Raw. And I'm looking forward to the Rumble. I'm going to try to get a predictions video out. I shouldn't declare anything, though, because I've already missed 1 week. And I'm probably going to do it again because I'm busy. But it's okay because I really, really like this product. And I like talking about it. If you like me talking about it, give it a like, give it a subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your strangers, and yeah. That's all I got to say. I'll see you guys on the next one.